Hi, my name is Stacey Sellars and this is Assessment 3 for CITE401 Technical Skills. Today I will be setting up and configuring a small home network. The type of network I will be setting up is a hybrid network because I will be using both wired and wireless connections. Now the wired connection is communicated via copper and fibre cables, and the wireless connection is communicated via radio waves. The router that I am using is a Netcom VDSL ADSL dual band AC 1200 Wi-Fi gigabit modem router with VoIP. I have my desktop computer which will be connected to the network via an Ethernet cable, and then my laptop which will be connected to the network via a wireless connection. My wireless network follows 802.11n protocol and is secured with WPA2 Personal. 802n protocol is also known as Wi-Fi 4. Up to 4 data streams can be sent at the same time using 20 MHz or 40 MHz channels. It uses multiple antennas, also known as MIMO, multiple input, multiple output, and it operates on the 2.4 and 5 GHz bands. The data range is 54 to 600 megabits per second. WPA2 Personal stands for Wi-Fi Protected Access to Pre-Shared Key. This is currently the strongest encryption method available for wireless networks and uses AES, Advanced Encryption Standard. At home I currently have a fibre connection. So the fibre connection runs underground from the street to a small box which is attached to the outside wall of my house. This is also known as an external termination point. The fibre then runs through the wall to another small box that is attached to the inside wall. This is called the ONT, Optical Network Terminal. There is then an Ethernet cable that runs from the ONT to my router. Connected to my router via another Ethernet cable is my desktop, and then connected wirelessly to the router is my laptop. Now my laptop does not have an Ethernet port, so the only way to connect my laptop to any network is to do so wirelessly. So I have already connected my desktop to the router with the Ethernet cable and my laptop wirelessly. I need to find out the IP address for my router. Conveniently, this is on the sticker on the bottom of my router, but if it wasn't, one of the ways we could find it is by opening Command Prompt from the Start menu. In the Command Prompt, we can type ipconfig and hit Enter. This will bring up the Ethernet adapter settings, and if we look down to the default gateway, we see two sets of numbers. The top number is the IPv6 address, and the second is the IPv4 address. This is the address that we want, so 192.168.20.1. We will make a note of our IP address because we are going to need this in the next step. In this information, we can also see the IPv4 address for my desktop computer, which is 192.168.20.9. Now we are going to configure the router settings. So we start by opening up a web browser. In the address bar, we're going to type the IP address of the router. So it was 192.168.20.1 and hit Enter. Now it's asking me for my login details, and now I am in my router settings. So the router status page is the first page that shows. This displays general info about my router. If we click on status and look at the ARP table, the address resolution table, we have a list of IP addresses and the corresponding MAC addresses. Now this list is a list of addresses that have been learned by the router. Next, we look at the LAN Local Area Network page. On this page we can configure our LAN settings. So our router address is 192.168.20.1. Our subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. We will leave our secondary IP unticked, and we want to make sure the IGMP snooping and the Ethernet to wireless blocking are both disabled. For the DHCP mode, which is a dynamic host configuration protocol mode, we will select DHCP server. This is because we want our router to act as a DHCP server and issue IP addresses to hosts or devices when they request internet access. Next we can see the IP pool range. This is a range of IP addresses that are available for the router to assign. So my range starts at 192.168.20.2. This is because .1 is already taken by my router, and the range ends at 192.168.20.50. So I can have up to 49 other host devices connected to my network. If we click on Show Client, this brings up a current list of IP addresses and MAC addresses, along with the amount of time remaining in seconds until the lease of the IP address expires, and the host would then need to request for the IP address to be renewed. Next we have the maximum lease time. This is currently set at 86,400 seconds, which is equal to 24 hours. Then my domain name, Stellarnet, and then we have option 60 for network and local. So we're just going to leave these as they are, and the DNS option we're going to leave as it is as well. Now I don't want to add any port-based filters or MAC-based assignments, so all my settings on this page are done. Next up, we're going to look at our settings for our two wireless networks. So we click on wireless. First of all, we're going to look at our wireless 2.4 gig settings. So we go into basic settings and we have this display here. So our band, we want 2.4 BG and N. Our mode is set as access point, and we do not want multiple access points, so we're not going to click on that. Our SSID, service set identifier, is called Stellarnet. Channel width 20 megahertz. Channel number auto, and our radio power is 100%. Now if we click on show active clients, this shows us a list of clients that are currently connected to the 2.4 gig network. Next we look at our advanced settings. We want to make sure that broadcast SSID is enabled. Then into our security, so our SSID type is root AP Stellarnet. Our encryption, we want WPA2. Authentication mode, personal pre-shared key. And then we want the AES encryption. Now the pre-shared key format is a passphrase, and in here is where my passphrase is. So when someone wants to connect to my 2.4 gig wireless network, they would need to enter the passphrase pre-shared key that is here in order to connect. Then we have our status, and here is just a brief rundown of what we've previously been through. So mode, access point, band 2.4 gigs BG and N, SSID is Stellarnet, we're on channel number 11, our encryption is WPA2, the BSSID is the MAC address for my 2.4 gig access point, and I currently have 3 clients associated with this connection. Next we'll go through and do the same process on the 5 GHz settings. Now in our admin menu we have the option to upgrade our firmware for our router. We can also manage our time zone, and we have the ability to change our password that is needed when we try to access our router via the web browser. So that is all our settings done for our router. So we want to go to settings, internet settings, sharing options. Now for our private profile, we want to make sure that our network discovery is turned on and our file and printer sharing is turned on. And then for all networks, we want to make sure that the public folder sharing is turned on, that our file sharing connection uses 1.28-bit encryption, and password protected sharing I currently have turned off. If we wanted to add more security, we would turn this on. So I will also need to make sure that these sharing settings are set up the same on my laptop as well. Now we should technically be able to see our desktop and our laptop on the network. So we will check by opening File Explorer. And then we click on Network down the bottom here. Now here we can see that we have our two computers, so my desktop and my laptop. And then down here under Other Devices, we have our router. Now if I was to double click on my router, it would open a web page and it would take me back to where we've just seen for the router settings. If I double click on my desktop, it shows me the folders that are currently shared on my desktop. And then if I double click on my laptop, this will show me the folders that are currently shared on my laptop. Next up, we're going to talk about IP addresses. So IP address stands for Internet Protocol Address. So a IP address is used to identify each computer or digital device on a network and allows them to communicate with each other over the internet. There are two types of IP addresses, static and dynamic. So a static IP address is manually assigned to a computer or digital device. A static IP address is permanent and it does not change and is assigned by the network administrator. If a computer or digital device has a static IP address, then every time that computer or digital device connects to the network, it will have the same IP address. If you are a business or are using dedicated services such as online gaming, hosting, VoIP or email, FTP, DNS, VPN and web servers, or you need to access your network remotely, then you will need a static IP address. They are helpful when an external device or website needs to remember your IP address. Static IP addresses attract a fee due to your ISP, Internet Service Provider, needing to give you a set of IP addresses, which then decreases the total amount of IP addresses they have available in their IP address pool. It is possible that you could experience faster download and upload speeds. When manually assigning static IP addresses, you would need to keep a list of the IP addresses that are in use and the devices they are attached to. Otherwise, you risk the possibility of assigning the same IP address to two devices, which would then cause an IP address conflict. Unlike the dynamic IP address, a static IP address makes it easier to find your exact geographical location because you have the same set IP address every time you access the internet. A dynamic address is automatically assigned to a computer or a digital device via a DHCP. Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol Server. In my case, my router also acts as a DHCP server, so it assigns the IP address when one is requested by a computer or digital device. A dynamic IP address is temporary and assigned from the IP address pool on the DHCP server, so it means it can also change. So each time the same computer or digital device requests access to a network, it could potentially have a different IP address every time it is connected. If you are using your device at home for personal use or doing basic things like web browsing and checking and sending emails or creating Word documents or Excel spreadsheets, then you would only require a dynamic IP address. Dynamic IP addresses are more cost effective for both your ISP and yourself, and they won't cost you any extra. They are the most efficient way for your ISP to use IP addresses. They are less maintenance because they are automatic, and they are also reliable. You will never have an IP address conflict because the DHCP server will never assign the same IP address. Your geographical location may be less accurate, and security implications may be reduced due to the IP address being able to be changed. Either way, ensuring that your firewall and antivirus are turned on and are up to date, and all PC software is up to date, this will go a long way in helping you stay secure while accessing the internet, regardless of if you use a dynamic or static IP address. Now, if I wanted to create a static IP address, I could do so by going to Control Panel, Network and Internet, Network and Sharing Center, change adapter settings, then I would right click on my network connection and select Properties. I would then need to click on the Internet Protocol version 4 and select Properties. Now we have a box where we can assign a static IP address. So first we want to select use the following IP address. Now we already know that our IP address for our desktop is 192.168.20.9. So we're going to enter that in there. Now when we click into the subnet, it automatically populates, so it's 225.225.225.0, and our default gateway will be 192.168.20.1. Now the IP address and the default gateway we discovered when we were looking originally for the IP addresses when we did the IP config at the start of the assessment. Now we also need to pop in a DNS server. So when I selected use the following IP addresses, it automatically selected use the following DNS server addresses for me. So the preferred DNS server I'm going to put in is 8.8.8.8, and in the secondary we'll put 8.8.4.4. So these are public DNS servers from Google. Now I'm going to check validate settings upon exit, and then if I click on OK and then close, so now it's just validating the settings. Okay, so troubleshooting couldn't identify a problem, that's fine. So we can see up here we're connected to Stellar Interwebs. Now we want to check that that worked. So to check that our address worked, we're going to open the command prompt. Now we're going to ping -4 because we want it to ping in IPv4, not IPv6. And then google.com and hit enter. So we can see here we're pinging google.com. This is the IPv4 IP address for google.com. We can see here that we sent 4 packets of data and we received 4 packets of data back. So we have configured our static IP address correctly. And then we can also see that by opening a web browser and clicking on various favorites that I've got saved here, that obviously our internet is also working. Now we will go back to a dynamic IP address. So again, control panel, network and internet, network and sharing center, change adapter settings, right click, properties. Okay, so we're going to select our Internet Protocol version 4 again, and then properties. So now if we change it back to obtain an IP address automatically, it removes all of this information that we previously entered, And we also want to obtain a DNS server address automatically. So we click on OK and we click on close. Now we see up here it was identifying and we are connected to Stellar interwebs. So now let's try another ping to make sure that it's working. Command prompt again. Ping -4 space google.com, enter. So pinging google.com and the IPv4 address, packets of data sent for, received for. So that looks like it's working. Again, we'll open a web browser. Okay. And check a couple of websites. Great, so that all looks to be working as well. Now we're going to look at a few command prompts that can come in handy to find out info about our current device or network and to troubleshoot any issues. So the first command that we're going to look at is ipconfig. So that's ipconfig. This will show us our computer and router's IP addresses and some other configurations in our system. This is a quick and easy way to find information about the computer and network in one place. So we open command prompt. If we type in ipconfig, have some IPv6 addresses, our IPv4 address, which is 192.168.20.9, our subnet mask, and our default gateway IP address. Now, let's say I wanted to get a bit more info. We're going to now type in ipconfig space/all. Enter. So now we can see we've got a little bit more information here. So we have got our host name, which is Stellar Desktop, because I'm on my desktop computer here. Down here further, we've got our MAC address for the desktop. We've got our default gateway again, our DHCP server, and our DNS server address as well. So next up we have the command ping. We use this when we want to check if our network is connected and communicating. So you can ping your router or another computer on your network or a website. You can also ping an IP address or a domain name. Using ping will tell you if there are any connectivity issues or name resolution issues on your network. Ping measures the time it takes to send a packet of data to a device or a website and then to receive that packet back again. In general, if your ping is successful, this means you are connected to a network and that you are using a valid IP address and subnet mask. Pinging an IP address with a successful outcome means that there is connectivity between us and the device or website we pinged. Pinging a domain name with a successful outcome means that name resolution by DNS, domain name system, is working correctly. If a ping fails, it could mean that there is no network connection, there is an issue with the DNS, a cable may not be connected properly or not connected at all, there could be a break in one of the cables, your IP address or subnet mask may not be valid, or maybe you were unable to connect to the wireless network. If you can ping another device on your home network, but you were not able to ping outside of your home network, then it is likely that there was an issue with the router. Some people do block ping requests, so that could be another reason that your ping has failed. You can use the next command, trace route, to pinpoint where the problem is if a ping is unsuccessful. Let's open up command prompt and ping an IP address and a domain name. So first we will ping our home network. So let's start with the router. So ping space 192.168.20.1. So sent 4 packets, received 4 packets, so it's like that's all working. Now let's try to ping my laptop. So ping space 192.168.20.2, sent 4 packets and received 4 packets. Now finally we will ping google.com. Now 2 reasons: we're pinging outside of our network to check that we can, but we're also going to ping google.com rather than an IP address to check that the DNS is working. So ping space google.com, enter. Ping google.com. Now because I didn't put ping space -4 space google.com, this has pinged in the IPv6 address rather than the IPv4, but that's fine. So we got 4 packets sent and 4 packets received. So as we can see, all 3 of our pings were successful. So we know that we are connected to a network and there is basic communication within our home network and also outside of our network. The command traceroute, or TRACERT, is used to trace the path that a packet of data takes to reach its destination. It can be used to pinpoint where an issue is on a network. Each hop or line in the command window represents a router that our data packet has reached. It also gives us the RTT, or round trip time, that the data packet took to reach the router. If a traceroute fails, it is most likely because there is a problem between the last successful router and the next router. The problem with traceroute is that while it can show you where the problem is, most of the time the problem is not with our network or device, but with someone else's, meaning we have no control over it and we cannot fix it. Now first, let's try traceroute to our router. So TRACERT space 192.168.20.1. Now of course the result is going to be quick because it's on the same network. Now we'll try Google. So TRACERT. Now this time we're going to remember to put the -4 so that we're doing it in IPv4. Google.com, enter. We can see here that there were 12 hops in total. So our data packet travelled through 12 routers. Now here we see some stars and request timed out. So this appears when a data packet hits a device that either doesn't respond to traceroute requests, has a firewall blocking the traceroute data packet, has a connection problem at the system, or there could be a problem with the return path. Lastly, we will look at NS lookup, or name server lookup. This command can obtain a domain name of an IP address, an IP address of a host, or mail servers for a domain, by sending a query to the DNS domain name service. If we get a successful result, then our DNS is working fine and there is no issue with our DNS. Now, let's type NS look up and hit enter. Here we can see our default server and its IP address. Now at our next prompt here, we're going to enter google.com, enter. So we've gone from my router to google.com, and this tells us that google.com's IP address is 216.58.199.168.1. So you can see here it says non-authoritative answer. Now this is because google.com's IP address was not stored on my default server. So my server had to ask an external DNS server for the IP address. Now when we're finished with NSLOOKUP, but if we want to keep using command prompt, we need to press Ctrl+C, and you will see that the C:/user/Stace has appeared again. Now I'm going to share some folders between two computers that are connected to my home network. Firstly, I use the same Microsoft account and email address for both accounts on my desktop and laptop. I am also an administrator for both computers. So for the purpose of this assignment, I have created two other accounts, one on my desktop and one on my laptop, with different Microsoft accounts and email addresses to assist with the sharing or not sharing of files. I am currently using my desktop computer and I am logged into my account that has administrator access. Now let's go to File Explorer and then click on Network. We see the router, my desktop and my laptop. Now I want to set up some share permissions on some of the folders on my desktop so that I can access them from my laptop. So let's start by going into C drive, users. We will start with the public folder. So we will select the public folder, right click and select properties. Now in the sharing tab, we will click on advanced sharing. We want to make sure that share this folder has been ticked, and then we're going to select permissions. And here we have a list of groups or users that have access to the public folder, and then we have a list of the permissions for each group or user. So for myself and for the administrators, we have full access and control of the public folder. And for everyone else, they can only change or read stuff in the public folder. Now, if I wanted to add a new user or group, I would click on Add, then I would click on Advanced, and then I would click on Find Now. And now I have a list of all the groups and users that I can select from. So we scroll to find the one that we want. So I'm going to do Test Account Desktop. So this was one of the accounts that I created for this assessment. Then we click on OK, and then again OK. And we can see here that the test account has been added to the list of groups or usernames. Now we need to decide what permission we want to give, so let's say change and read. Then we would click apply and then OK, apply and then OK, and close. Now for the folder Stace, I've only given access to myself and the administrator. So again, we both have full access and control of the Stace folder. Now if another user tries to access this folder, they will receive a message to say that they do not have permission and they should contact their system administrator. Now let's check our settings for the test account on the desktop. Okay, so here we have the test account with full control and access to the folder, and then for everyone else they can only read. So that means that myself included and anyone else that logs onto this computer, when they access this folder, they will not be able to change, save or delete anything. So they would, however, be able to open a file and then save that file to one of their own folders, and that way the user could add or make changes and save a copy. So Now I'm going to log onto my laptop under the test account laptop that I created on there. So this is a separate account to the test account desktop that I created on my desktop. So I'll be back in a second and we'll see if the settings worked. Okay, so I'm back. I'm now logged onto my laptop. So just here, Stella Lappy, to make sure that we are on our laptop. Okay, so let's go into File Explorer, Network. So again, our router, desktop, laptop. So now we're on the laptop. Now we want to try and access the desktop to see if the settings that I set previously have worked. So into the desktop. Now let's access our public folder. So if we go through all the folders, we'll see that we can get into them. Now here we've got a document saved. So we're going to open that. We can see I've been doing some testing here. So let's add some new text. Now if we click on save, cool, so it looks like that's worked, and we'll just reopen it. There we go, there's our line there, cool. So that's all working as it should. Now if I go back to the desktop and if I try and open the Stacey folder, so we get an error message here, you do not have permission to access this. So this is exactly what should be happening because I don't want anyone else accessing my folders, only me. So that's working. Now if we go into the test account, so we can see everything here. We do have read access, so we should be able to get in there. Now let's go into this document and add in some text. Let's try and save this. Okay, so we've got the save as box has just come up. Now we are still in the test account in the documents. So let's try and save that. Do you want to replace it? Yes, I do. Now we've come up with a message here saying that we don't have permission to do that. So we'll just close that and not save the changes. So because we only have read access, we're not able to make changes or save anything new, which is good because that's what it should be doing. So it looks like our settings have worked in relation to what we can access on the desktop. So file sharing has its good and bad points. It is a great way to collaborate and save time when working on projects. We are able to share our documents and photos easily with others who are connected to our network rather than having to email or print. However, we also run the risk of someone being able to access something they shouldn't be able to. This would happen if the network administrator set up the permissions incorrectly and could result in embarrassment, tears, or even a privacy breach. Extreme care must be taken when setting up permissions for file sharing. Now, when it comes to file sharing, we need to be aware of the copyright laws. In a nutshell, we can share any type of work that is our own or allows public use or is not protected by copyright, unless, of course, we have permission from the owner. As recorded in the Copyright Act 1994, Part 6, Section 122A to 122U, file sharing is where A. Material is uploaded via or downloaded from the internet using an application or network that enables the simultaneous sharing of the material between multiple users, and B. Uploading and downloading may but need not occur at the same time. So your IPAP, Internet Protocol Address Provider, will issue you a detection notice if they have received information from a rights owner that you are breaching copyright. If you have received a detection notice, this is valid for 9 months from the date of issue. If you breach copyright again within this 9-month period, but after the 28 days of the date of issue, you could be issued with a warning notice from your IPAP. If you breach copyright again, within the 9-month period that the first detection notice was issued and after 28 days of the issue date of the warning notice, your IPAP will issue you an enforcement notice. Once you have received an enforcement notice, the rights owner can now take enforcement action against you. The enforcement notice is valid for 35 days from the date of issue. After this 35-day period, the detection and warning notices also expire. If issued one of the infringement notices above, you do have the right to challenge that infringement notice, but this must be done within 14 days of the date of issue on the relating infringement notice. The rights owner will then need to accept or reject the challenge within 28 days of the date of issue of the relating infringement notice. Once issued an enforcement notice, the rights owner can apply to either the tribunal or district court, or both, for an order against you. This must be done before the end of the 35-day period from the date of issue on the enforcement notice. Generally, a decision is made based on the information the tribunal has been supplied from the IPAP and rights owner without needing to hold a hearing. However, sometimes a hearing is held. The tribunal could order you to pay up to $15,000 to the rights owner, and or your internet account could be suspended by the court for up to 6 months. To ensure our home network is safe, we want to check the browser settings and install an antivirus on all devices that are connected to our home network. So I currently use McAfee Live Safe, and I already have it installed on my laptop and my cell phone. I have an unlimited devices account, so I can install it on as many devices as I like. So first off, we are going to check our Windows Defender settings. So from our start menu, click on settings, and then on update and security, and then Windows security, and then we're going to open the Windows Defender Security Center. From a first glance, we can see everything has green ticks, so that is a good sign. Now let's just hop into each one and have a look. Okay, so threat history, we've got a green tick there. We haven't done any scans as yet, that's fine. Virus and threat protection settings says no action needed, and virus and threat protection updates. The last update was at 2:36 p.m. today, so that was only about 45 minutes ago. And ransomware protection, no action needed. Now if we quickly just jump in here, so no current threats, quarantine threats, no threats, allowed, no threats, and last scan, not available because we haven't done a scan as yet. If we look into the virus and threat protection settings, so our real-time protection is on, which is great because we want protection all the time. Cloud delivered protection is on. Automatic sample submission is on. Okay, so that's all looking good there. So updates, we're all up to date. And then the ransomware, so that's fine. I don't want to turn on controlled folder access, so I'm just going to leave that off. Okay, so next we'll go to our account protection. So currently signed in is Sellars@hotmail.com, so that's my Microsoft account. Windows Hello is set up and Dynamic Lock is not set up, so that's fine because I don't want to set that up. Firewall and network protection. So firewall, so our domain network. So Windows Defender Firewall is on. Now we don't want to block incoming connections. Private network, so that's our current network, so Stellar Interwebs, and the Windows Defender is on. And then public network, we're not connected, so we won't worry about that one. App and browser control, so we can see here that check files and apps, smart screen for Microsoft Edge and smart screen for Microsoft Store apps. So these are all set to warn. So that means that if anything dodgy comes up, that I'm going to get a warning about it. So that's nice. Device security. So your security processor, called the Trusted Platform module, is providing additional encryption for your device. That's great. Device performance and health. So the last health report, so the last scan was today, and there's no issues as we can see from there. And then the family options, I'm not going to worry about that because I'm the only one that uses this computer, so I don't need to set any of those up. Right, so that's our Windows Defender Security Center all set. I'm happy with those settings, so I'm just going to exit out of there. Now, next up, we are going to check our browser settings. So I'm just going to open a Google Chrome. Now, I do use Google Chrome as my main browser. It's very rare that I'll use Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge. So we've opened Google Chrome. I'm just going to click on the three dots up here and go down to settings. Okay, so first off, we're just going to have a look in the sync thing here. So we've got everything turned on for everything to sync, so that's handy for me when I use my laptop, my computer, my phone, my tablet. Everything is going to sync, so I don't have to resave things if I log on to a different device. As long as I'm signed into Google Chrome, then everything is going to sync for me, and it's going to be the same no matter what device I'm on. So that's super handy for me. Now down here we've got encryption options, so we're going to make sure that the first option is selected. So encrypt synced passwords with your Google username and password. So cool, that looks all fine there. Okay, so we'll go back. Now appearance, search engine, default browser, what opens on startup, they're all fine. They're not really anything to do with security, they're just settings. So now if we click on advanced, here we have our privacy and security. So we want to go through and check these. Okay, so allow Chrome sign in. Yes, we want that on. User prediction service to help communicate searches and URLs typed in the address bar. That's pretty handy, so when I start typing something, it's going to try and predict what I'm going to type. Sometimes it's good because it saves you having to type the full thing in that you're typing in there. Use a prediction service to load pages more quickly. I'm just going to leave that off. Use a web service to help resolve navigation errors, so I've got that set as on. Safe browsing protects you and your device from dangerous sites, so that's on, so that's good. That means I'll get a notification or like a warning if I try to go to a dangerous site. It's going to have a little pop-up or something that warns me that it's unsafe, and most likely will give me an option to proceed if I wish to, or to go back. Helps improve safe browsing, sending system information and page content to Google. I've currently got that turned off. Automatically send usage statistics and crash reports to Google. I've got that on. So if Google Chrome crashes, then a report's automatically going to get sent to Google and they can have a look and see if it's something that they need to fix. Use a web service to help resolve spelling errors. That can just stay off. Send do not track requests with your browsing traffic. That's off. Allow sites to check if you have payment methods saved. I've got that turned on. Now our content settings. So control what information websites can use and what content they can show you. Okay, so our cookies, we allow sites to save and read cookie data. Now our location, so if a website wants to see my location, I'm going to get a pop-up asking if I want to share it or not. Same with the camera and the microphone. Notifications, so when you go to a website you get a little pop-up and it's like, this website wants to send you notifications. You can allow them or block them. Okay, JavaScript allowed. Flash, ask first. Images, show all. Pop-ups and redirects, so I have them allowed. Ads, they're blocked on sites that tend to show intrusive ads. Background sync, so allows recently closed sites to finish sending and receiving data, so we definitely want that, because if we accidentally close something and it's still sending or receiving data, then we're going to lose it, so we'll leave that on. Allow sites to play sound. Now if an automatic download comes through, we're going to get a pop-up asking if it's okay. Unsandboxed plugin access, so we'll leave that as it is. Handlers, the MIDI devices, we're going to leave as they are. Zoom levels, USB devices, leave as they are. PDF documents, so in here I have this turned off, so what will happen is if I try to open a PDF, it's going to automatically open in Chrome rather than actually downloading the PDF to my computer. Protected content, allow sites to play protected content, so we've got the recommended here turned on, so those are both fine. Clipboard, that can stay as it is. And okay, so all those settings are fine, I'm happy with them. Language, what else? Downloads, so they're saved to my downloads folder. Printing, okay, cool, so that is all our browser settings, so I'm happy with those, so that's all done. And lastly, we're going to download our McAfee Live Safe onto the desktop and install and configure it. So we will open this and log into my McAfee account. So we're in my account, so we can see here that my cell phone has it installed, and then also my laptop has it installed. Okay, so we want to protect another device, so we've got Live Safe, and we're going to do a PC because we've got a Windows desktop, so we'll click on download, and then we've just got our user agreement, agree and download. Okay, so it's popped up here to save into my downloads folder on this PC. So we're going to click save. Okay, McAfee installer. Okay, so done. It's all installed. It's created a shortcut up here on my desktop. So here we are in the McAfee Live Safe. So we've got a big green tick here saying secure, always a good thing. Now we can also see my other two devices, so my laptop and my cell phone that are connected to this account. They both have green ticks, so they're both good as well. So let's have a look through here. Okay, so let's see if there's any updates. Okay, so applications are up to date. Cool. Right, so let's have a little look around. PC security. Now we can see here that these are all on. Okay, so from here we could run a scan. We can check for application updates. So no new updates. We can check for McAfee updates. So this is current. Last update was at 3:36 p.m. Okay, and we also can remove cookies and trackers. So real-time scanning on. So this is good. So the McAfee is currently, or continuously, scanning my computer, looking for any threats. So we're going to leave that on. Firewall. Okay, so firewall's on. Automatic updates, of course we want that on because we always want to make sure that the program is checking for updates automatically. So I have got it set to download and install updates automatically. So it's just going to do it behind the scenes. And scheduled scans. The next scan is scheduled for the 16th of November at 4 a.m. So that'll take place whilst I am sleeping. And so here we can just select if we don't like what our setting is up here, we can change it. But that's fine, I'll just leave it there as it is. Okay, let's have a look at the settings cog. Now for our PC security, we can see that these are all turned on, which is exactly what we want. Okay, and then under privacy, our shredder is on. I don't need any parental controls because I don't have any kids. So that is our McAfee LiveSafe all installed and set up and now protecting us. So that includes my assessment 3 for CITE401 technical skills.